Hello everyone, just wanted to do an update on my cactus garden. I took the transparent tarp off. The sun's going down, so I gotta do this quick. It is March 28th, 2003, and some interesting results. If you guys paid attention to what I did last year, I also put a transparent tarp over the whole cactus garden, but I also individually put transparent pots over a lot of the items, and that was a no-no, caused way too much humidity issues, and some of the stuff perished. I've had interesting results this year. Some of the stuff that I thought would, pull through with flying colors actually did in some of the very cold hardy stuff. So I'll go over a bunch of stuff. So this is the Texas red yucca. I fully expected this stuff to pull through. It did great. As you can see, here's a great example of some of the purple coloration that it sometimes takes on in cold weather. Eventually they'll just bounce back to pure green, but they did great. So some of the stuff that didn't do good was some of the prickly pears. Perfectly cold hardy prickly pears, but it's almost like they got this weird rot thing happening. This is the Apuntia. It starts with a P. I can't recall. I'm not going to try to remember. Perfectly cold hardy, and some of the stuff. Hopefully it bounces back. There, these little ball cactus did perfectly fine. So, I mean, here's what's interesting. Some of the more southwest cactus that are, more susceptible to winter moisture, they did well than the ones that can take more moisture. So I'm a little. This is some kind of beaver tail. I forget what cultivar it is, but all the beaver tails did really well, and the stuff that is supposed to take moisture didn't. Like this. That's a crystal tide. It almost turned to mush. Very interesting. This is the hardy orange flying dragon trifoliate. Did fine. Expected to do fine. That is the Winter's Croom Aurea prickly pear. Did great. Really beautiful fall color on that. Here's a banana yucca. Pulled through wonderful. This, I never expected this to survive, but it actually might. This is the Texas prickly pear, the Apuntia engelmanni, if I'm pronouncing that properly, but it might bounce back. All the choyas did fairly well, except for one. This is that really sensitive beaver tail from the deserts of California. So, survived. We'll see what happens to that. This is more beaver tail, but a little more cold and wet tolerant beaver tail. This was great, as if anybody viewed my videos from last year, my Rostrata did not make it because it had a bucket over it, and guess what? This year looks pretty good. So I'm really happy about that. Yucca Rostrata. These are some other types of cacti that I got. I'm not sure if they're dead or alive. I think they're alive. Really cool coloration in there, like a purple pink. Hopefully that bounces back. On this side, here's something that I didn't expect to survive that survived. And this is the Yucca alata, which is great. As you can see here, it took a little bit of burning on the top. That's where the cover was, but in there it's very healthy. And that's definitely alive, and that will bounce back just great. So I'm super happy about that. Let's see here. That's the Yucca glauca. I expected that to survive. It got kind of mushed down by the tarp, but just fine. These little cacti are doing just fine. I forget what they're called. There's another choya. And the Oklahoma prickly pear, which is perfectly cold hardy. Again, I don't know what happened. This will bounce back just fine, but I did not see any of this last year, and it was way smaller. So I'm not too sure what happened with some of these prickly pears. This is an agave I didn't really expect to survive, and it might pull through. That's the Victoria. It's like a zone 7 agave, so it'd be great if it does pull through. There's peachy beaver tail. Again, all the beaver tails are doing just fine. Look great. That's the eastern prickly pear, which is, they'll inflate back. Aria opuntia did well. This is one of the newer ones. This is that Utah opuntia prickly pear. Looks great, did fantastic. The Adam leaf yucca, of course, will do fine. That was just bent down by the transparent tarp, as did this. What do we got here? This is the only cholla that looks a little hurting, but it might bounce back. It's a really small specimen. More interesting cacti that did just great. And what else do we have? This is a shrub. This is actually from South Africa. I forget what it's called, but it's grows about 3-4 feet tall. It's an evergreen. It's used to dry conditions, so thought it might not look nice with this cactus garden. And what do we have here? This is the giant red yucca. So apparently a zone 7 plant, pulled through just fine. And some of these little barrel cactuses did just fine too. So overall, good success. I'm super excited about the yucca rostrata and the alata. And yeah, I literally just took this tarp off, about 15 minutes ago. So everything should bounce back, hopefully. And yeah, so big success, I believe, and look forward to seeing how all this stuff's going to do in the weeks and months to come. Thanks, guys. Take care.